Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very milestone episode of Rush Roundtable, episode number 200. So, before we get into our topic here, I figured now would be a good time to just reflect a little bit. So when we started this, we started Rush Roundtable on YouTube in January of 2020, so before the pandemic. And if you go back and watch episode one, you got me in my chair, all nervous, like swirling around, like doing my first episode. Um, and here we are now. And throughout the pandemic, it kind of grew, and here we are. I guess mostly post-pandemic, still all in our basements and offices doing Rush Roundtables. So we're at episode 200, and yes, we definitely have plans to continue this, hopefully for another 100 episodes. So um, yeah, in the wise words of Neil Peart, the point of a journey is not to arrive, right? So. Um, let's introduce our panel. We tried to really kind of diversify the panel in multiple ways, but one being uh, new guests, old guests, regular guests, some guests that have only been on once or twice. So in the top left corner, we have Rob, then we have Ryder and Todd and Dell. Dell's brand new, his first episode. We have second row, we have Kathy. We have Candace. Candace's first episode as well. So welcome. Yours truly. And we have Eric. Then we have Paul with brand new glasses, looking as handsome as ever. And speaking of handsome, I haven't seen Jim's handsome face in like 2 months. So welcome back. We have David with you know, his library right behind him, as fancy as ever. We love it. Alex looking like he just got finished playing golf. Uh yes, okay, good. How'd you shoot? Good, as always.
80.
Hell yeah. Awesome. And of course, at the bottom, we have the lovely Donna Halper, who's done so much for us to this point, and always happy to have you back. So, um, how this is going to work tonight is we've all chosen, or we've all kind of brainstormed one major way that Rush has impacted our lives. So, whether it be lyrics, whether it be a friend you met, your partner you met, any kind of life-changing, major ways that Rush has impacted your life. So, without further ado, we're going to get into the topic, and we're going to start with Rob up there on the top left. Take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be here with everyone here, and I would say there's many ways the band has impacted my life, but the most recent is this idea of self-improvement, because the band would always say, what's the best version of Rush that we can be, and that would be from album to album. So I just think the idea of how they experiment with their music, how they put it together, their interaction with each other, is like it kind of exemplifies how to be as a person. And I think that kind of impacted me because I'm always trying to improve as a person myself and also with the music I make. So I think that their example of what they do really kind of resonates with me, and it's had that impact on my life where whatever I do, I try to strive to be better. And what's a better version of myself? Just like the band would say, how can we be the better version of ourselves as a band? And the fact that they're all decent people, their philanthropy, there's a lot of examples of how they interact with their community of people they work with, the roadies, the drivers. I mean, Neil's made that sort of part of his speech when he got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So he mentioned that it's the people who drive us to the shows, set up the stage, the whole thing. So I just think the way they sort of interact with people kind of has that impact on me that I want to try to do that as often as I can and be just that much better of a person. So that's really, I think, the most recent thing that I can say has been an impact on me. I mean, as you go through the ages, you have different impacts with the band as you follow the band. But I think that's I guess, the most recent topical way I can say they have impacted me. Self improvement.
That's awesome. That's a wonderful start. Good stuff. Thanks, Rob. All right, Ryder, what do you got?
All right. So, of the many, many ways that Rush has impacted my life, I think the one that has kind of stood out to me the most, thinking about it recently for this episode, is Rush really showing me how important music was to my life. So, before I listened to Rush, I knew how to play keyboards. I was just kind of like, I did it for fun. It wasn't anything crazy. But when I eventually picked up my first bass, and around that same time, I kind of got into Rush, and especially, Geddy Lee's just incredibly unique playing, it made me really realize what music could be, in the sense of like, what is on the record and what it can be live. So immediately already expanded my knowledge of music, just listening to the band and beginning to understand progressive concepts. But the more and more that I listened to the band, the more I started to understand the meanings of the songs, and especially really breaking them down with you guys on these different shows we've done. It made me really realize what music has done for me in my life. I've through every like little turbulent change that I've been through, I started going to college. I just moved into my first friggin' apartment today. So many things around me are changing, and so frequently. And I found that there's kind of always a song that can push me through like what's going on. There's always a song that fits just what I'm doing. And the band that really keyed me into that was Rush. There are songs like The Past that obviously have very intense emotional meanings, but even just songs like Marathon, at a time in my life where I was really struggling, I felt like I wasn't like advancing as, a ton of my other friends. And just like in life, I didn't feel like I was making a ton of progress. But, the song Marathon really got me through. It's not how fast you can go. There's always a song there that has been able to get me through very challenging times. And the band that has not only keyed me into that the most, but most frequently has a song that I don't know what that thing is. Whatever whatever's going on in my life, there's always a song that can match me up. And 90% of the time, it is a Rush song. So I think overall, Rush showed me the importance of music that it really has in my life.
You did mention, going through changes and all that, and the first thing that came to mind was circumstances. The
Mm-hmm.
more that things change,
The more they can say the same.
there you go. All right, Todd, what do you got?
Okay, well, I was a little worried about having to come up with the best answer to this because for a while the first thing I came up with was what I thought I was going to have to stick with, and that was that when I was a kid, I was or in high school, I was in band and I played the clarinet and I took a lot of art classes and I liked Devo and having a Rush t-shirt on gave me a little bit of cred and probably kept me from being stuffed in a few lockers. But I finally did think of something that a more substantial way that Rush has affected me, and that's that as you experience life and especially as you travel it's good to notice your environment and think about the experiences of others. I think that helps you be more of an empathetic person. And I mean, one of the songs that comes to mind is Tai Shan. Some people like to make fun of Tai Shan, but that's exactly what that's about, is to look around and not only just notice and think about what happened where you are, but think about the people, what people did before you, and why that's an important place. Mission is a great example of that, and that's probably the song that touched me the most. Even in earlier days, like Passage to Bangkok, it's not just it wasn't superficial. They were talking about the places they were going to go and the specific things they were going to do there. I think about Neil and his motorcycle travel. I'm still blown away that he could drive from gig to gig and not be just completely wiped out. But I think about Neil, and because this is mostly about Neil's lyrics, and I think about him riding that motorcycle and just looking around and soaking everything in and thinking about where he was and things that happened there and meeting people along the way. And I've always found that to be very inspiring. So as an adult, now that I'm not worried about getting hazed as much, that's probably the way that Rush has impacted me the most.
You mentioned two songs from Hold Your Fire, Todd,
Yeah.
and I think And I hear a lot of like one of the lyrics in Force 10 based on what you said, look around at the sight and sound and
Yeah.
look in, look out, look around, right? So yeah, three great answers so far. Really, really all different answers. Yeah, awesome stuff. Dell, you're up.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me on. So my idea is a little different. If you recall, when I did the Rush routes, I was living in Mexico. So to me, Rush began being very, very attractive to me, but in the sense of the music. I didn't understand a word that they were saying, but the music and the drums was really, really impressive. So Neil said it very clearly. The the greatest satisfaction that an artist can have is to inspire. And that is exactly what happened to me. They or he inspired me to be a drummer. I am the lyricist of the band that I have over in Mexico. It's sad that I don't have that anymore, but I am the lyricist, and I learned a lot from him. Um, but probably the one of the biggest things that I have learned from Rush is the sincerity, the to be respectful, to be humble, to be a good citizen. Uh, that is that is really, really valuable and very priceless in my eyes. And the philosophy of life, their philosophy of life, if everyone followed their philosophy, this world would be a better place. It's that simple to me. It's it's just amazing the way that they convey through their music, convey through their lyrics, and I think it touches everyone's hearts. Whoever wants to listen and really to understand what he is trying to tell us, we could learn and be definitely a better place. Another thing that I also learned from him or them is to be true to your beliefs. When I lived in Mexico, all of my friends listened to Mexican music, and I was the only oddball that listened to Rush. So poor them when it was my turn to drive the car and just cruise around because they had to listen to Rush. But it was year after year after year that um, I just stayed true to listening to them. There's nothing wrong of being maybe different. There's nothing wrong of it at all. So that's something that was very valuable to me as well. So the preaching of Neil's quotes, I do that all the time. Very funny. The other day we were on a road trip, and my daughter said, "Well, is it time? Is it? Well, are we almost there?" And I said, "Well, the point of a journey is not to arrive." And she says, "It is when you're really hungry, Dad." He says, "Neil." She says, "Neil, forgive me." But yes, it's absolutely something that we can all learn from. And lastly, being here in Michigan, my nearest relatives are 1,500 miles away. So I was uprooted and I live here. So my immediate family and Rush have made it a lot easier to be here. And Rush fans has been part of that. I really do appreciate everything that you guys do. And to be a little bit a part of what you guys do makes me very happy and to feel that I have new friends as well. So thank you.
Awesome stuff. Awesome
Yeah.
stuff. Thanks, Dell. Very much appreciate that, and very much appreciate you being a part of the community and sending Eric and Ryder and myself quizzes to do.
The
For
greatest
You
quizzes
have
on the
three to
planet, man.
yeah,
Let's go. We
you
got to
have
get
three to
back on that
go.
Rye guys, man.
yeah. One
Wait,
major
this
way
is
you've
this is
you've
that
impacted.
Dell?
Yeah,
Is
this
that
is that Dell.
Hey
That's
One
Dell, how's it going?
one
Very
major way. One major way. He's impacted your life is you don't have to make quizzes when he
Yeah,
sends you
thanks,
quizzes.
Dell. I'm
Yeah.
done. I can leave.
Yeah, because of Dell, Eric's an amazing host.
I'm
Very
glad
true.
you guys like it. I enjoy it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, Kathy, you're up.
Well, hi, everybody. Really excited to be here. And I just want to say quickly, thank you guys for doing what you do, because I think all of us really appreciate it. And I know I get a lot out of listening to your shows. So this is kind of a hard question because it makes you really think. They do impact you in so many ways. And I feel like my answer is going to piggyback on a lot of what everybody's already said. But when I thought about it, for me, and I'm a little bit older than somebody who talked about this, but Rush's music has been like a soundtrack for my life. And every stage of life that I've gone through, there was always a stage of Rush's music that I was listening to that was just what I needed to hear at that time. And although what I do for a living is very extroverted, I'm actually very introverted. So for me, I think the biggest thing that impacted me about their music all throughout the years was they had and especially Neil's writing, but all three of the guys, the way they interacted together, the friendship they had, the authenticity. I think they just were brilliant at making you feel connected. And so through all my stages of life, I just always felt connected, not only to their music, but to other Rush fans. When you would go to a tour or a concert, you felt like everybody in that building just got it. Whatever it is, people just understood. It was unspoken. Everybody was always kind and welcoming at the concerts and all the way through to the last tour. So and even now, a community like this, I just feel like they had that ability to make everybody feel connected. And even though Neil's, one of his most famous lines was, "I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend," that's how they made all of us feel, or at least me. And so to me, that was just huge, because there were times when all of us have times in life where we feel awkward, or, am I normal? Is what I'm feeling normal? And I think always having their music and having other Rush fans, I think you always felt like you weren't the oddball all the time. So that really impacted me. They have impacted me on a more personal level, and I won't get into it because it's for another time. But Neil's book Ghost Rider also was, even though that wasn't part of their music, that was a huge thing in my family for something we went through. So some pretty impactful meaning out of that. But
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll look forward to that. Yeah, in the future. Awesome stuff. This has been great so far. I mean, five, basically completely different answers, and this is really good. So, Candice, what do you got?
Hi, guys. Thanks for inviting me. I apologize for my accent, my broken English. I'm a Brazilian. Actually, I'm a translator. And I'm going to go with Katie. The words, the writing, they impacted me so much for my resilience.
Tell us what you're translating, please.
Okay. First, I'm going to start with the first one. As a Rush fan, I love Neil's writing. And then when I discovered that here in Brazil, Ghost Rider hasn't been published in Portuguese, I called a publishing agency and I told them, hey, please buy the rights of this book. And they bought, and they chose me as a translator. And I was fortunate enough to exchange some emails with Mr. Peart. He was so kind to me, because there were some parts of Ghost Rider that was very difficult for me as a Brazilian. For example, the descriptions of snow and things like that. I couldn't imagine how it really was, because, well, I live in the south of Brazil. Sometimes it snows here, but not like in Alaska. So he helped me with the translation of Ghost Rider, Masked Rider, Far and Away, and Traveling Music. Unfortunately, when it was about the time I was translating Roadshow, he passed away. I couldn't talk to him, but I think his voice was already inside my head. And now I can show you, but I can't talk a lot about this. This is my effing life. I think I'm well, there are like 5 people in the world that read this book. I'm one of them. I finished the translation. And now I have just to talk to Mr. Lee about some doubts I have. And that's how Rush impacted my life. Imagine, I was a 15-year-old girl. I loved Rush so much. My favorite band when I was a teenager. The lyrics really, really, really meant a lot to me. And now it's like a fairy tale. I can read their books. I can translate their words. It's an honor. Here in Brazil, the Rush community, everybody knows me. And I live in a very, very small town in the mountains in southern Brazil. And as we say here, if you like the same band, you are friends, you're not strangers. So I really think that Rush brought me the best friends ever. And look at me now talking to you people from the States. And I met Donna, our muse. And this is awesome, really. This band changed my life so much. And I really appreciate that. The 3 of them, they are awesome and wonderful human beings. They are examples, they are role models. So as an adult, I can follow their words, their principles, and trust me, I think we chose the best band ever to be part of this community. Like Prime Mover said, anything can happen, and a lot of things happened to me since I started working with the books, and here I am. Thank you so much, guys.
That's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
That's
and I
awesome.
think you're
Unbelievable.
underestimating yourself.
I
Your English
don't
is
believe as
excellent.
well. Donna knows because we chatted a lot. I read it sometimes. I have to pinch myself. Is it true? Have I read this before everybody else? Yes, I have, and it's awesome.
Well, that's a good segue to mine because I have to do the same thing sometimes, like pinch myself and think, is this real? Like I had the pleasure to do 20 episodes of Rush Deep Dive with Donna Halper and have Martin Popoff on and Ben Mink, and to be able to talk to these people is like mind blowing to me. And that's really kind of where Rush has impacted me the most. I mean, I echo what everyone else has said so far, but for me, it's really the friendships that I've made through Rush fans and through this community and through YouTube that has and all that's happened because of Rush. That's the biggest way that Rush has impacted my life because, you know, I consider most of you on here are close friends, right? I mean, I talk to you every single day, and uh, by the time this comes out, I will have met Eric and Paul, and you know, we're doing a golf tournament next week at the Neil Peart Memorial Golf Tournament, so that's going to be awesome. I would say stay tuned, but this is August 17th, and this will go up in like September. So, but um, yeah, no, I mean, and just some of the folks that I've met already, I mean, you guys, like I said, I talk to my Rush friends sometimes more than I talk to some of my best friends here locally, and and it's not all just pandemic virtual friends anymore. We're having the opportunity to meet. I mean, I look at Jim and David. You guys met through this, right? And you're both in the same city, and you're like, oh shit, we should go get beers together, right? Like so. Um, it's that type.
McAllen. We get McAllens
There you go.
together.
And we have many times.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be all like gushy and all that, but that's really kind of that's it. That's really kind of what the band has done for me the most. I mean, there's obviously other things I've talked about in the prior 200 episodes or 199 episodes, right? But those are all minor because the friendships that I've made through this are everyday life for me, right? So, thank you, I guess, right?
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you for starting literally not even just Rush Roundtable, but the entire Rush fans thing in what, 2013 was it?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, 10 years.
So yeah, 10 years of Rush fans, man. That's insane.
Yep. And 3 years of Rush Roundtable and hopefully many, many more. So all right. Eric, what do you got?
Maybe you don't suck too bad, Ryan.
I guess I don't suck too much, no, Papa.
You're not my least favorite person anymore, Ryan, if that helps.
Well, I get to play the role a bit of the broken record because I'm going to echo the sentiment that we've heard a few times in the sense that the major way Rush has impacted my life is that it's been a constant. No matter where I'm living, no matter what stage of life I'm in, no matter the people that I've surrounded myself with, I've always had the music of Rush to turn to, whether it's a certain mood, whether it's some kind of emotion I'm feeling, or whether it's nothing that I'm feeling and I just want to have something on. It's always been Rush. And of course, there's been other bands that have come and gone that I listen to as well, but Rush has always been there. It's always been far and away the number one. And that's something that you can't get with many other bands, it seems like. And at times there's songs that you just put on repeat over and over again. And there's a few that come to mind for me. Warpaint, Chain Lightning, and Heresy are songs that over the years I've had on over and over and over again. And of course, those come and go as well. And there's another song. Oh, this song now is the one that I'll listen to 60 times in a week because I really resonated with it at this time. And there's 165 songs to choose from that you can do that with. And each of them at different times can apply in different ways. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And sometimes it's not the lyrics. Sometimes it's the drums. Sometimes it's the vocal melody. Sometimes it's a guitar riff where it's like, wow, I could listen to that guitar riff as many times as they'll play it and I'll never get tired of it. And that's why I keep going back to it. And it's something I rely upon because there's times where I feel a certain way. What do I do about it? I don't know. And then I'll have this Rush song that pops up on shuffle and it's like, oh, and it gets my mind going. It's like, that's how I can relate to this band. That's how I can apply it to my life. And like I've said, there's 165 songs. Each of them can work out that way. And it seems like for all of us, it's kind of the same for all Rush fans. Everybody feels like they have Rush music to turn to. It's made us all a family in that sense. And I think that's why we all keep coming back to it. So that's the way that it's really impacted me and why I'll stick with it for many, many years to come.
Good stuff. Well said. Paul, your turn.
Thanks, Ryan. And the order was picked before him, but we didn't discuss topics. And I also was going to say it's a constant. So thanks, Eric. Yeah, I've been a fan for more than a couple decades, but the thing is, they weren't always my number one, always listen to every day, but I could always go back to them and the music and the community. So I'm not a fan of change, but it's always there for me when I want to go back to it. So over the last couple of years, we've all been through a lot. The world has, and things are constantly evolving and changing. A couple years ago, I was diagnosed with a spinal disease and had to undergo surgery and a spinal fusion and a couple other things. So I had not been following the band and music when Clockwork Angels came out. So what I decided to do was I'm going to get back into Rush again. So I would do my physical therapy and I learned to walk again while listening to Clockwork Angels. So by the time listening to it and walking through the neighborhood and coming home to my better half, she was waiting for me and the garden was always playing, which was wonderful. And we had trying to condense the story for time. It was just nice to be walking home to her with the garden playing. We had gotten married at a traditional Hawaiian ceremony on the island of Kauai. So nice romantic imagery. Fast forward to she did pass away. For her funeral, also on the island of Kauai, we had a very nice traditional ceremony where we would let flowers loose into the ocean. And my friend Calais helped me translate the chorus of the garden into Hawaiian. And he, being very supportive, said, tell you what, I want you to be the one to say the chorus in Hawaiian. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to be able to hold it. So I was able to stumble through my Hawaiian, and the lyrics truly universal. I'm doing the garden in Hawaiian while the flowers go out to the Pacific. So band's always there for me. And just to kind of throw this on top of that story, while going through the grieving process and all that, what did I find? This community. knew everything. I had to get into a new field because of my physical disability. With couldn't be an officer anymore, so I had to find a new career, a new this, new that. That's how I met Ryan, commenting on Rush fans' YouTube videos. And he said, "Hey, come on, why don't you join the community? Why don't you be on a roundtable?" Next thing you know, "Hey, why don't you make some content?" So you all were there for me as I'm healing in all this. So it never stops. The community's been there for me. It's been my constant. And I was welcomed into this group. So Rush has impacted my life incredibly. At what could have been the darkest moments of my life has been, I have everything I could possibly want and a whole new everything. So I'm grateful for all of you. And that is truly the spirit of aloha for me, because we are a community. So mahalo nui loa. And that's why you always see me throwing shaka. So aloha.
That's awesome, man. That's
Very cool.
yeah, beautiful. And yeah, like I said earlier, we get to meet in a week. So which viewers of this episode will have seen by that point. But yeah, I'm super excited for that, and I'm glad. Well, sometimes we find each other, right? I guess it can be applied to friends too. So, ghost of a chance. Jim, what do you got?
Okay, well, I think, no, I think overall, Rush has kind of taught me to be better, a better person, a better musician. When I first heard them as a young ninth grader in 1982, right? They really taught me at first to be a better musician, really focusing. I would focus on the drums. So I expanded that because Geddy's bass playing was just that blew my mind just as much as Neil's drumming blew my mind. So I dove into that, and I dove into Alex's guitar playing and the keyboards and then the lyrics. And it really taught me how to listen to all the parts of a song together and pick out little parts and do all of that simultaneously. And I think that really helped me to be a better musician. And as a better person, you guys have said already, Rush were like really great people, really nice, polite Canadian gents, right? So just thinking of a lot of Neil's lyrics that he's written. I mean, the ones that come to mind. I mean, one that comes to mind immediately is "Begin the day with a friendly voice." Why not be nice? Why not be friendly like at the very beginning, right? I mean, I know what
Is
that
that
song is
me just
about,
pinging you every day in the morning, or
yeah, sure, go on
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
So it's doing that, and and I'm going to have to say this lyric again because it's one of my favorite lyrics, and I think it's been said 2 or 3 times already. The point of a journey is not to arrive. So I'm still on a journey to be the best musician I could be. I'm still on a journey to be the best person that I could be, the best role model that I could be, and I've met all of you guys too, because way back in 1982 there was no such animal as the internet, so I had to just find my Rush friends. So now I found so many more, which is completely awesome, and I'm very grateful for it.
Well, in the spirit of reflecting, I think it was episode 10. Jim came on. He's like, "Hey, you guys need an old guy as part of the team," and I was like, "Yes,
The old
yes, we
guy,
do."
that's me.
And he's been my right hand man ever since. So thanks, Jim, and thanks for that.
Thank
That
you.
was awesome.
Thank you.
What do you got, David?
Let me unmute here. A couple things. About once a year, I go through the whole Rush catalog. I just start with the first record and go all the way through. And this is serendipitous because it's about the time I'm doing that. I'm at tomorrow. I start at Farewell to Kings, so something I just started, and then I'm going to Toronto in October for an academic conference. Actually, a couple of them, but I'm flying in a couple days early, so just to tour all the Rush sites. And this is a bucket list thing for me. So that'll be fun. So anyway, I wrote out some things I wanted to say to keep me in the 3 to 4 minutes. So if this is kind of like boring, like I'm reading something, that's because it's
you're good.
boring
Take
when
your
I'm reading
time.
something.
Take your
But
time.
what I chose can be summed up by one thing that Getty said with him and Alex's interview at the House of Strombo. To the effect, he said, if the events of the last few years have taught me anything, referring to the loss of Neil, Taylor Hawkins, COVID-19, is that it's important to spend your time the way you want to spend it, doing things you want to do. And now we can't always do the things we want to do, right? Life has constraints, or should I say, circumstances, or the way the big wheel spins as we roll the bones. But to the extent that we can, we want to savor this short life that we have and to be and to become the kind of person we want to be, right? And so when I think back to the early days, I mean, I've been listening to Rush since, I don't know, 45 years now, something like that. I think I was 76 was when I was turned on to them. I was 11 or 12 years old, and I listened to Anthem 2112 on up through Free Will. And this was a message that was inscribed into my own consciousness. Songs like Subdivisions affirmed in me my own realization that it was okay to be weird, be outcast, and the more I looked at people around me back in those days, I became very satisfied with who I was, and Rush helped me year after year, album after album. And so, I don't mean this though to be just selfish. Part of doing what I want to do means becoming who I want to become, and nobody becomes who we are without others. Songs like Entre Nous, Different Strings, or the whole damn Counterparts album, and 1,000 others, learning about relationships and the common good, were among other things that Rush gave me. Those who think that Rush is all about some Ayn Rand hyper-libertarian style individualism have failed to listen to the songs closely. And this includes a lot of songs from the early days as well. So throughout my life, I got off track a lot of times, but Rush always had a way of bringing me back. So lastly, through time, Rush grew and matured, and to some extent, ostensibly, so did I. And as I've gotten older, their music has constantly affirmed this idea about spending your time well and the way that you want to. So take this all the way up to the garden. You want to look back on life just like Owen Hardy did in Clockwork Angels. And while there was a time that you want to do it all again, I mean, I'd love to go back and do a lot of things again, but in the end, you're content with the garden, whether it's literal or metaphorical, to nurture and protect. So I'm going to break the rules because Ryan said come up with one thing. I'm going to break the rules by adding that Rush gave me a lot of laughs throughout the years. So thanks for coming to my GED talk.
I was just gonna say, you included a lot of Rush puns in there, and you topped it off with that. So that's awesome.
I
Good
love this
stuff.
band and I love this community.
Likewise. Likewise. All right, Alex, so I got a question for you. Since I'm your least favorite person. So you just finished playing golf. If you could pick one Rush song to walk up to the first tee box with as your entrance music, what would you pick?
Oh, Limelight. Easy. Easy. Yep.
Good choice.
It's got
All
such
right.
an iconic guitar intro. Like, that's a perfect walk-up song.
Very good. All right. What do you got?
I have to stop for a second and marvel on what Jim said about Rush influencing musicians like us. Because if I actually thought about my own guitar, bass, and drumming, Alex, Getty, and Neil are the biggest influences that I've ever had in the entire spectrum of music. And I think that's probably true for a lot of Rush fans who happen to be musicians. Those guys just ultimately, their art and their craft and what they've done to perfect their craft is incredibly influential. And I love it. I love the way Jim framed that. In my personal life, my very first rock concert was Rush in 1986. I had been to a handful of classical performances with my parents. They're both music majors in college, and but was lucky enough at 11 years old to go see the Rush concert, and that really spurred my love for live music. I'm 40, going to be 49 years old next month, and I've seen something like 400 concerts since then. And throughout that time frame, it was always like I was going to see all of these great live shows, and then Rush would be on tour, and it would just be like the highlight of that, 2 or 3 or 4 year cycle of whenever they were on tour. And it was always the best concert. It was always enjoyable. I was always going with friends that loved Rush. And fortunately, I got to see them 24 times between 86 and 2015. But and every single time Rush was like the gold standard of live music. Every time we saw them, the light show, the music, the performances were amazing. And it was always comparing all the other bands that I saw, whether it was in small clubs or in big venues, always comparing them to Rush because nobody did it better. And starting from 86, when I was a young kid seeing live shows till now, I really attribute Rush's amazing professionalism and amazing music for my love of live music. And I feel bad for people who have never gotten to see Rush live because they're so incredible and so inspiring. You just can't put a finger on it. You really can't describe what it's like to sit in the stadium with 20,000 of your closest friends. Others have touched on it, but it's absolutely amazing to me that we've all come together in such an amazing community of Rush fans, and we feel so close and such a great, strong, bond and connection with the music. And I definitely attribute it to being able to see them live. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Been a lot of good ones. Actually, all of them have been good. But Donna, so go ahead. We saved the best for last.
Oh, I don't know if it's the best, but let's get in our how should we say politely, time machine, and let us go back, if we could, to 1947, which is the year that I was born. I was born in a predominantly working class neighborhood. And no, I'm not going to give you the whole story of my life because that would put everyone to sleep. But my point is, I was raised in a time when anti-Semitism was still a thing. I was mocked. I was bullied. I was told I'd never be anything in life. I was told that I was nothing. I was told that I would never have friends. I was basically told to just give up because I wasn't like everybody else. But there was something inside of me that just wouldn't give up. And there was something that kept me going. And that something was radio. I knew from the time I was maybe 4 that I wanted to be on the radio. I didn't know why. I just sort of knew that the people on the radio cheered me up. When I heard them, they felt better. I felt better. That whole thing about begin the day with a friendly voice. Yeah, that was me. And it was the guys in Rush too, because they were talking about their favorite morning show, their favorite radio station. Yeah, radio was like my best friend. Out there, everyone told me I'd never be anything. But when I listened to the radio, when I heard my favorite songs, it cheered me up. And you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Okay. And I decided I would be a DJ because I wanted to cheer people up. I didn't realize there weren't any women top 40 DJs. I mean, there may have been one, but I was sort of on the edge of when society started to change. It took me 4 years of fighting, not like fighting, but, having to kind of struggle to be heard and seen before Northeastern University finally let me be on the radio in my senior year. I was the first woman in the history of Northeastern University to be on the radio. Somehow the Republic did not fall. And from there, I went on to have a 4-decade-long broadcasting career. And in June, I was inducted into the Massachusetts Broadcasters Hall of Fame. I won the Pioneer Broadcaster Award. I'm the first woman to win it. Donna, what's your point? My point is that because of my refusal to give up and because of my love of radio, somehow I surrounded myself with people who accepted who I was and accepted what I was. And what I was somebody who didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, read the Bible, didn't believe in imposing anything on anyone, but I'm just saying, like, this is who I was. And yeah, I also loved rock and roll, but I got in it for the music, not for the lifestyle. And when I met Rush, they accepted me for who I was. Now, I understand. At first, it was like, pragmatism. Here's this lady DJ who played their music. Of course, they're going to accept me for who I am. But we didn't have to be friends 40 years later. We didn't have to keep in touch. They didn't have to send me flowers when I was in the hospital fighting cancer. They didn't have to keep in touch with me day and night when I wasn't feeling well. They didn't have to get me to come with them out on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and be the person that gave them their star. They didn't have to invite me to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. They didn't have to invite me backstage and make sure that there was orange juice for me and fruit and cookies because they knew I didn't do alcohol. And they wanted me to feel accepted. Am I making sense here? To every person who has ever felt like you were not accepted, Rush accepted you. The family of Rush fans is a family. The family of Rush fans stands up for each other. Are they perfect? No. Are there people in the Rush community who are just like, oh my God, if I ever hear from that person again? But the vast majority of the people that I met through knowing Rush have just been wonderful. And they accepted me and they liked me. I feel like that, the person up there, you like me, you really like me. But if all your life you were told that nobody ever would like you, and then all of a sudden there are people that like you, and they like you long after you could do something for them. Long after I could get their record played. Long after I could persuade people to give them a star or something of that nature. Nope, just friends for no reason other than, ain't it good to know you got a friend? And I think of that line about celebrate the moment, from one little victory, the greatest act can be one little victory. Everything is a link on the chain. Bob Roper sending me that Rush record when he didn't have to, me playing it, standing up for these guys and having them become friends with me and never forgetting me when they didn't have to remember me for more than 5 minutes. I can count on the fingers of 50,000 hands the number of people I've done favors for in my 4-decade career. Never heard from them again. But Rush, they kept in touch. I'm in touch with them on a regular basis. Now, are we pals? Are we buddies? Do we hang out? No. Do I know what they're doing next week? Nope. And yet, I know that if I need to get in touch, they'll be there. And I know the same for you. And maybe I'm not the most exciting person. Maybe I'm not the kindest or the best looking or the whatever elsest. But when you're among Rush fans, you're in a family. And I never forget that. And I am eternally grateful for the privilege of telling this story to a group of fans that get it, because the same story has happened for them too. So thank you for being here. Thank you for telling your stories. Thank you for letting me tell mine. But above all, thank you for loving a band that sees you for who you are and helps you to see each other for who you are.
Very well said. Now I know why you wanted to go last. That was great.
I hope I wasn't boring.
And I think
Never boring.
No, never
Not
boring
close
at
to
all.
boring.
It was so awesome.
Perfect.
It's amazing.
I think you just
Spectacular, Donna.
From the heart, kids.
Incredible.
From the heart.
Yeah.
put a great big bow on what I think is definitely one of the best episodes of Rush Roundtable. This was fantastic. I'm really happy we came up with this topic. I'm really happy this awesome panel that we had on. Everyone said something of value, and it was a phenomenal episode.
By the way, Ryan is being exceedingly humble. He came up with the topic. Okay. We agreed that it was a great idea.
Congratulations. Congratulations on 200 episodes.
Yes.
Congrats.
That's a big
200.
deal.
Yes.
It's amazing.
A lot of work.
Listen,
And can we just give a round of applause to the people watching this? Because for years now, hundreds and hundreds of people have logged on through YouTube, through their devices, whatever, carrier pigeons, and they've supported these broadcasts. This is, to my knowledge, an amazing and phenomenal fan-based experience, and it wouldn't have happened without Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Thank you.
And that needs to
be.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I appreciate
Give it
it.
up for Ryan. Give it up for Ryan.
I will add to that. So next in this episode, I think we want to add some fan responses. We put out some feelers to folks on Facebook and Twitter/X, and I think maybe Instagram.
Please.
I can't remember, but yeah, for what major way Rush has impacted their life. So I'm gonna give my best editing to this video, and we'll see on the screen some additional fan submitted responses at the end. But I think also piggybacking on that, we want more people. We want new people. We want to add to this community. We want the community to keep growing. 2 brand new fans on this episode, right? We were supposed to have 3. Unfortunately, the third couldn't make it, but we want to just keep adding new faces to the Rush fans community and continue to grow it. And I don't think we'll get to 400 episodes, but I want to get maybe. But I want to throw ideas at us, throw new ideas at us, and definitely join the fun. So everybody, thank you very much for doing this episode. This was awesome. And thank you, like Donna said, to all the viewers. Past 200 episodes have been fantastic. And we'll see you next time. Rush on, everybody.
Thank you, Ryan.
Rush on.
Obrigada. Tchau.